Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki. Bhagavad Gita, you have all received the PDFs of chapter 6. We completed verse number 3. Let's move on to verse number 4. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karma swanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhastadochyate. Translation: when one is neither attached to sense objects nor to actions, such a person is said to be elevated in the science of yoga, having renounced all desires for the fruits of actions. In the previous verse, Sri Krishna explained that as long as you are yoga rurukshu, a sadhak, you stay in the world, do your duties, and practice yoga alongside. In other words, be a karma yogi. And if somebody says, I wish to be a sannyasi, then you need to become a sage of steady mind, yoga rudh. Many times people wish to reverse this sequence. They say, I will leave the world and take sannyas, and later on I'll develop detachment. So what motivates them towards sannyas is the miseries of the world. You know, it's so terrible, it's so awful, it's so miserable. If I run away into the forest, all miseries will cease. Their detachment is not from the world, but from the miseries of the world. So this is a form of attachment itself. And Sri Krishna is saying, no, Arjuna, a true sannyasi is not like that. Otherwise, when you take sannyas and you find miseries there, then you will recoil back to the other side. So, now he is explaining who is the yoga rudh. And he says that one who has become detached. This is the internal state, detachment. Vairagya, as he has said in the last 3 words, is not an external act. If it was an external act, it would be very simple. You leave everything and go and sit down in a cave. But the work is not done because you have taken your socks with you. Remember from yesterday? 3 Taoist meditators were sitting in the cave. They had done the sankalp, we'll meditate in silence. One horse went by. After a week, the first meditator said that was a black horse. One more week went by, and the second meditator, he said, you were mistaken, it was a white horse. One more week went by, and the third meditator, he said, if you people are going to speak so much, then I can't meditate, I'm leaving from here. Now externally they were meditating, but the mind was thinking about the horse. So what is vairagya? To understand this, you need to understand the nature of this world. As regards to this world, our Indian philosophers have presented quite differing viewpoints. The first Jagat Guru was Shankaracharya. I am not talking about the Gaddidhari Shankaracharyas of today, but Adi Shankaracharya who came 2000 years ago. He said, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Brahma is Satya and the Jagat is Mithya. So as per Shankaracharya, this Jagat or this world is Mithya. What does Mithya mean? Mithya means non-existent. Like the horns of a rabbit. Have you seen them? No. Why? They don't exist. Likewise, Shankaracharya said the world doesn't exist. You say, how come it doesn't exist? I'm perceiving it. He says that is because of your agyan. Your agyan is making you perceive it. When you come into gyan, then the world will dissolve. It will no longer exist. This was the viewpoint of Shankaracharya. Now came Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Ramanujacharya. They said, no, we disagree. If the world is mithya, if it's a creation of our mind, then how come all of us have created exactly the same world? If this mic is created by the mind, then how come everybody has created a mic? Somebody should have created a flower, somebody a fruit. Plus, if it is only mana kalpit, then with your mind you should be able to destroy it. But no matter how much you try, this mic will not get destroyed. I am presenting you the differing viewpoints. One said Jagan Mithya, and the others, they said we disagree. If it is a fact that when you become Brahmagyani, the world ceases to exist, then after Brahmagyan, why are people eating food? You ask the sannyasi. Sannyasi ji Maharaj, you have got Brahmagyan? Yes. So the world should now no longer exist for you. Your agyan is finished. In which case, you should stop eating food. No, I am not of that realization, but there have been such yogindras and munindras in Indian history who are not eating food. So what were they doing? They were residing in the forest and eating kandmul, fruits and berries. But sannyasi ji, fruits and berries is also a part of this world. If you say it is mithya, then give up fruits and berries also. Well, there have been such yogindras and munindras who were not eating fruits and berries either. So what were they doing? They were only doing vayu bhakshan. They were simply doing pranayam. With the breath energy they were subsisting. But even the breath is a part of the pancha tattva, the 5 big elements. If you are consuming the breath, you are consuming the world. And if you wish to prove that the world is mithya, then stop breathing. Well, there have been mention of such yogis and munis who were not breathing either. What were they doing then? Sitting in samadhi. There's mention of Saubhari Rishi who used to sit in samadhi, immerse himself in the Yamuna and sit in there. All right. So where were they sitting? On the earth. The earth is also part of the world. What to speak of anything else? Our five, this body is made of the Panchatattva. Kshiti, Jal, Pavak, Gagana, Samira, Pancha, Rachitya, Adhama, Sarira. You give up this body, then we'll accept that you have left the world. This external world, nobody can destroy. Shankaracharya himself is writing books. If the world is mithya, where did the pencil come from? Where did the paper come from? So the viewpoints of the Vaishnava Acharyas were that the world is existent. They say, don't call it Satya. Satya means permanent. It is not Satya, it is not Mithya. It is Asat, temporary. So these two viewpoints were reconciled by the fifth original Jagat Guru, Kripaluji Maharaj. He said that Shankaracharya is right. But Ramanujacharya is also right. Both are right. How can both be right? Is that like sitting on the fence diplomacy? Yes. No. He explains that there are actually two sansars, not one. One is the external sansar, and the other is the internal sansar. What is this external, internal? See, the external world is made of the five elements. It is created by God. But there is another world which is inside of us. That is our inner world. Our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, attitudes, aspirations, attachments, bitterness. This is not created by God, it's created by us. That is the world within. Chittameva hi sansaraha tat prayatnena shodhayet. Maitreyi Upanishad. You can say, Swamiji, is there a sansar inside of us? Absolutely, very huge. And you come in touch with it when you dream. At night when you go to sleep, you put the comforter over your eyes, your head on the pillow, and your hands and feet in your typical way, and then you go to sleep and start dreaming. Now, in the dream, which sansar are you seeing? Obviously, it cannot be this sansar because your eyes have a comforter on top of them. That sansar is the one within your own mind. And it is very astonishing because in your dream, sometimes you fly straight from here to Chennai and sometimes straight from here to Kolkata, Mumbai or Delhi. Or you even like the Chandrayaan go all the way to the moon and come back. This is the sansar of your mind. Now remember, two sansars. The external world is not mithya. Why? Because it's created by God. Why will God make something that is mithya? He is Satya and what He creates is also Satya. So the external world is a reality. Satyam bhutamayan jagat. Mahabharat. Satyat bhutani jatani sthavarani charani cha. Mahabharat. The internal world is mithya. The world within us. Because it's a creation of our own mind and intellect. And our mind and intellect doesn't have the abilities for manifestation. Let a Rasgulla happen and the Rasgulla will come. So it is just creating ideas. Hence Kripaluji Maharaj said, all these Jagat Gurus were right. But the point arises, when will vairagya happen? If you finish off the external things to some extent, will it result in renunciation? Not really. When we experience harassment from external things, we say, all the reasons for my misery is my neighbor or my spouse or my boss or this or that. So we blame external things for our miseries. The Vedas say, you are mistaken. This world is the veritable form of God. Ishavasimidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyan jagat. Purusha evedam sarvam yad bhutam yatcha bhavyam. The Purusha Suktam states, God is everywhere. Vasudeva sarvamiti, Sri Krishna is going to say in the Bhagavad Gita. Everywhere is Vasudeva. So if this world is the veritable form of God, it cannot be the cause of our miseries. Our cause is inside of us, the inner sansar. That inner sansar, until we finish, the vairagya will not happen. One gentleman was living in Silicon Valley for 30 years and ultimately he got fed up. He said, enough is enough. I'm going to the Himalayas. I know one Guruji there up in the mountains and I'll sit in his ashram and meditate. So he arrived in this ashram. It was pretty high up in the Himalayan mountains. And the inmates of the ashram, Guruji welcomed him also. They allotted one place, one hut for his bhajan and his meditation. And there he started immersing himself in dhyan. As the months went by, his sadhana deepened until he had reached a certain level of attainment. And then the monsoon came. The Indian monsoon. The moment it comes, all of Prakriti celebrates because it comes after the parched summer. So along with the monsoons, now at night he was sitting for meditation and outside the frogs were making merry, tar, 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 pet, 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 gwa, 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 all the other creatures as well. He got extremely disturbed. Don't they know that a yogi is sitting in dhyan out here? How dare they make so much of sound? Finally, his irritation crossed the line. So he poked his head out of the window and screamed, "Quiet!" Now his sadhana had reached that level that when he would instruct, nature would also obey. And all the frogs, the crickets, all of them fell into pin drop silence. And no sound could be heard. He was now gleeful. He has got the perfect environment for meditation. He sat down in dhyan. However, unexpectedly, he was still getting disturbed. There was another sound getting created. And this sound was not coming from the outside, but from within him. The sound was his own conscience. What I did I do it right? Maybe it was wrong of me to silence these creatures. They were only making the sound as per their physiology given to them by God and nature. Why should I have stopped them in this manner? Now the sound of his conscience that is coming from inside is difficult to silence. So he was not succeeding in his dhyan. Finally he went back to the window, he poked his head out and said, "Begin!" Once again, they started making merry, tar, 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 pet, 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 gwa, gwa, gwa. So he came and sat down again in his meditation. despite all the racket being created, he was perfectly peaceful from inside. Why? He had learned to make peace with the external world. So our mistake is to think the whole world is defective. And the Vedas tell us your own mind is defective. You correct that and you will see the divinity of all creation. That is why when Ram and Lakshman and Sita ji came to Chitrakoot to stay there for 14 years, Bharat returned. He had gone to Kaikai Raj and he returned and he saw all the drama has taken place. And the Avadvasi said, now we should make you king. And Vasisht said, yes, we should do your Raj Tilak. And Bharat said, absolutely not. I need your help. We will go to Ram and we'll convince him to come back. And even if he doesn't get convinced, we will take his agya, whatever his instruction, we will then follow it. So everybody said, this is delightful, we'll go and have darshan of Ram. They all started off leaving behind only 8 people. Out there, when in the morning, Ram, he said to, and Lakshman started discussing. So Ram said, I got this dream that my 3 mothers are coming and they are in a widowed dress and extremely unhappy. And in the meantime, the army's indications came. When the army moves, the dogs bark and so many things happen. So Lakshman understood Bharat has come with the whole army. And Lakshman said, seems like Bharat is coming. Now Ram realized why Bharat is coming. So Ram became a little scared. He wants to take me back. And Lakshman saw the fear on Ram's face. And he said, this Bharat, how dare he, thinking that we are helpless 2 brothers here, he wants to kill us and then rule without any obstacles. He has got Raj Mad, the pride of kingship on getting the throne of Ayodhya. At that time, Ram responded, Bharat hi hoi na Raj Mad, vidhi hari har pad paya. Look, Lakshman, you are thinking Bharat may have become proud because he's got the Singhasan of Ayodhya. I am telling you, if Bharat gets the throne of Shankar, Brahma or Vishnu, he will not get pride. Why? The inner sansar is finished for him. So, the day our inner world gets purified, we will be detached. Even though you may be a corporate executive in one of the IT corporations here, people may think this guy is worldly, but God will know that from inside you are saintly. And that is why so many saints in Indian history have actually been in Grihastha-ashram, in the household. The topmost among the saints have been the gopis. Now these gopis, they had children, they had husbands, they were doing all the worldly things. Yadohane vahanane mathano palem papreng kheng khana bharutito ksanamarjanadau. They are milking the cow, putting the child to sleep, etc. You'll say, my, these are all worldly ladies. But their chit, their mind is completely attached to Sri Krishna. Internally, they are full of divine love. So that state requires the inner purification. And hence, Sri Krishna has said in this verse that Arjun, who is a yoga rude? Not one who has put on sacred marks on the body, who has got a kanthi around the neck, or who's wearing varieties of saffron, gerua, whatever. One who has given up attachment. Which means that now they are unaffected by the pleasures and the pains of this world. That is the yoga root. Is the verse clear? All right, then we can move ahead. We can take the next two verses in conjunction. Uddharedatmanatmanam Atmanamavasadayet Atmaiva yatmano bandhur Atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Translation: elevate yourself through the power of your mind and not degrade yourself. For the mind can be the friend and also the enemy of the self. Let's move on to the next verse. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. For those who have conquered the mind, it is their friend. For those who have failed to do so, the mind works as an enemy. So Sri Krishna is now honed in on the importance of the mind. We people feel that there are enemies outside who are responsible for our inner miseries. This person is so bad, that person is so bad. And Sri Krishna is saying, Arjun, the worst enemy you have is your own uncontrolled mind. When that mind is out of control, it will create anger, desire, negative thinking. The nature of the mind, to go on repeating negative thoughts again and again and again. You know, like in the olden days, they used to have the LPs. Now quite a few seniors out here, they know. They were the LPs before the cassettes. And a stylus would be there and the LP would rotate and sound would be created. Only problem was that because the LP was made out of plastic, vinyl, so sometimes it would get cut. And the same thing would keep on repeating, "Main shair to nahi, main shair to nahi, main shair to." People would say it has got stuck, hatao usko. It was a commonplace occurrence. Likewise, our uncontrolled mind keeps telling us, "Oh, that person said that to me. Oh, that person said that to me." Is it going to help you to think like this? Not going to help, Swamiji. But what to do? This mind is not keeping on going on, repeating the same thought. So this is the uncontrolled mind. If it is not under control, it will be your worst enemy. However, if you can learn how to master it, how to tame it, the same mind can then be mined to produce noble thoughts, sublime thoughts, divine thoughts. I am reminded of a statement made by Martina Navratilova. Martina Navratilova was the #1 women's tennis player on the ATP rankings for 332 weeks at a stretch. Which means over 6 years continuously she occupied the #1 position. And in her life, she won 18 Grand Slam singles, 31 Grand Slam doubles, and 10 mixed doubles, making a total of 59. And when she was aged 43, reporters asked her that at this age, how are you able to maintain the intensity in your game to stay at the top of it? She said, the ball doesn't know my age. And then she said, every game is played in the 6 feet mind space between your 2 ears. If you have the proper attitude, you can then play at your highest effectivity. Anybody who does peak performance in any field, they realize the importance of attitude. Many people say altitude is coming from attitude. So they all realize that with proper attitudes you can turn around situations. And on the other hand, if we have not controlled the mind, this mind will create anger, greed, desire, hatred. It will steal away all our happiness. People ask me, Swamiji, when you manage a worldwide organization like this, don't you encounter difficulties and hardships and adversities? I say, of course. How can it be possible that they don't come? Then what is the reason that you don't stay unhappy? How do you handle it? Say, look, if by staying unhappy the problem will be solved, then I willingly be unhappy. But I always ask myself, will this thought be helpful? If it will not be, then reject it. So it's a very, very simple thing. There is no point in worrying. Whatever be the situation, I am simply solution-oriented. If there is a solution, figure it out. If there is no solution, tolerate it. As the Serenity Prayer states, O Lord, give me the forbearance to bear the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this will require mind control. And when you don't have it, your mind will sabotage all your efforts. So, Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, he knew this secret. He writes, Jagat Jitam Kena, who shall influence the world? And he says, Manohiyena, that person who has conquered his or her mind is the one who will conquer the world. Now people say, look, one philosopher, he observed that China got conquered many years ago. When the Buddhist philosophy went there, the power of that philosophy influenced all of China. So this is the influence that those people hold who have controlled their mind. When Swami Vivekananda was to come to the US, prior to that, he made a statement which I observed in one of his books. He said, I shall lift my mind to such heights that I inspire people everywhere until the world realizes it is one with God. He understood that for the work that has been given to him, he will need to work upon his mind. It will be the key. In fact, our scriptures say that the mind is the reason for bondage and the mind is the reason for liberation. Chetaha khalvasya bandhaya muktaye chatmano matam guneshu saktam bandhaya ratam va punsi muktaye. In the Bhagavad, 3rd canto, Maharshi Kapil, who is an avatar of Bhagavan, tells his mother Devahuti, Mate, if the mind, the chit, is attached to the world, you will be in bondage. You can keep on saying Sitaram, Radhesham, it doesn't matter. And if the mind is attached to God, you will be liberated. That is why the importance of this mind. भूल न जाना इस नुस्खे को लाभ अनेक उठाओगे, जैसा मन को बना सकोगे वैसे ही बन जाओगे, क्योंकि मन के जीते जीत है और मन के हारे हार. So Sri Krishna has pointed out this biggest enemy which is sitting right within us. When Hiranyakashipu said to Prahlad, I am the conqueror of the world, Prahlad said, Father, you are a slave of your mind. Somebody who's a slave of their mind claiming to be king. If you wish to truly be king, then you conquer your mind first. Very few people know that after Swami Vivekananda, there was a second Swamiji who came. He was Ram Tirth. And when people would ask him, who are you? He would say, Raja Ram. He was a renunciant. In fact, there is an episode, he met the President of the United States. And he was asked, who are you? He said, Raja Ram. He said, Ram Tirth. He said, which kingdom do you rule over? He said, the kingdom of my own mind. That is the one I have conquered. Those inner conquests were emphasized in the Indian culture. A culture that never went out to enslave, even though at one time Bharatvarsh accounted for 1/3 of the GDP of the world. But that culture emphasized the inner conquests as stated in these scriptures. So, having said that the mind is so important, in this chapter called Dhyan Yoga, Sri Krishna is going to not stop here, but tell us. He, in the next verses, as we will see, he'll give the symptoms of the controlled mind, and then he'll teach us the methodologies for meditation to achieve that state. Let's move on to verse number 7. Jitatmanah prashantasya Paramatma samahitah Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu Tatha manapamanayo. Translation: the yogis who have conquered the mind rise above the dualities of cold and heat, joy and sorrow, and honor and dishonor. Such yogis remain peaceful and steadfast in their devotion to God. Such a powerful verse. One man heard that it is very auspicious to bathe in the ocean on Amavasya din, the no moon night. So he went to the ocean and found the waves were coming in, and he sat down there waiting. Until a sage came and asked him, "What are you waiting for?" He said, "I wish to bathe on this auspicious night." "Then why aren't you going in?" He said, "I am waiting for the ocean to become still, then I will bathe." The sage said, "The ocean will never become still. You will have to jump in the midst of the turbulence." Likewise is the world. Swamiji, once my health is perfect, finances are taken care of, harmony is there in the relationships, and career is steady, then I will do bhakti. Well, do you think it's ever going to happen like that? No. One poet said, "Na kabhi rukengi hawaएं, न कभी बुझेंगे चिराग, चलते रहो, ये तमाशा तो रात भर का है." This drama of the world is going to continue. You need to learn the art of peace in the midst of it all. Because if your peace is dependent on the externals, my neighbor needs to change their behavior, then I will be peaceful. Then the key of your peace is on the outside. And if you can discover the peace within yourself, it will be a peace that surpasseth all understanding, which nobody will be able to snatch away from you. For that inner peace, what do you need to do? Sri Krishna has said it here. You need to grow your tolerance. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna. He said, become more tolerant than the tree. Because if you are not tolerant, the summer will disturb you and the winter will disturb you. In fact, anybody who says anything will disturb you. Why did you say that to me? Why did you behave in this manner? So the key then is to develop tolerance. One husband and wife went back to India for their 15-day annual vacation. And as happens when you people go to India, hundreds of relatives come to meet you and you go to meet them. Now the husband had 4 sisters and so many others. They were all behaving well, but the 4th sister was very rough in her interactions with the wife. So she would become frustrated and tell her husband that, "Look, my Nanad is like this, like this, like this." And he would listen. Then finally he said, "Look, I understand that she is like this, but her behavior is not in my control. You will have to learn how to tolerate it." Those people who can tolerate the way Sri Krishna says, then nothing can disturb them. And the basis of the tolerance should be wisdom. Not, "Oh, tolerate, tolerate." When you decide that I am the soul, you will then decide, my happiness is not these worldly things. So on getting the pleasures, you will not be elated. And in case they are depleted, you will not be depressed. Why do we get so miserable? Because we decide there is happiness there. Our own decision of happiness is what is leading to misery. Let us say it was announced that 40 people died in Africa in a war between two tribes. Did it make you miserable? Hardly. You heard the news, read it, and kept on taking the tea. 40 people died very bad, but doesn't matter. And your own son had gone to Lake Tahoe, and you just read there's a fire near Lake Tahoe. Fire! Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Baba, Baba. Now 40 people are not making you miserable, and here your son is far away from the fire, you are still miserable. Why? Because you decided there is happiness in my son, happiness in my son. Now your own decision is leading to the experience of misery. Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, he says, Jag mah sukh dukh do nahi, as ur dhari le dhyan. Sukh mane dukh milata hai, sukh na jagat mahaman. Your decision that there is happiness in material things is making you miserable. The saints are living in the same very world, and they are not experiencing misery because they are deciding my happiness is not here either. Why? I am not the body, I am the soul, and my happiness is in God. So let me do the godly things, and this world will come and go, never mind. So then, the world does not disturb you. One traveler asked the tour guide, how will be the weather like when we go up that mountain where you are going to guide us? He said, it will be the weather that I like. So how do you know it will be the weather that you like? He said, because I have learned, then if the weather is not according to my liking, then just learn to like it, whatever it is. So, that sthita pragya carries the weather with them. They don't need the weather to change to be happy. Wherever they go, they get the weather that they like. And that is what Sri Krishna is saying, titiksha. Arjun, if you want to conquer the mind, don't pander to it. The mind will say, no, this sabzi should have been like that. The mind will say, no, that this should have been like that. Now you listen to the mind, you give it lift, you give it 1 inch, it will take 1 foot. Man ko mano shatrus ki sunahu jani kachu pyare. Don't make this mind a friend of yours. It will become your master and the worst master. Put it in its place. And the means for it is force the mind to tolerate what is unpleasant to the mind. What is pleasant to the mind? Praises. You are such a nice person. Hey, you are a useless guy. Huh? So the saints say, force the mind to tolerate the negatives. Now Kabirji says, you want to purify your mind? Yes, yes, yes. So you want to meditate? You know, I've been meditating for 20 years and the mind is still not pure. Kabirji says, I'll tell you a shortcut. A shortcut. You could not achieve it through meditation. You will achieve it quickly. Nindak niyare rakhiye angan kuti chabaya nit sabun pani bina nirmal kare subhaya. Get a critic, somebody who criticizes you a lot, and put that person in your angan, within your house. Angan kuti chabaya, put a tilak on the person's head, means offer respect. Bhai Sahab, please begin criticizing me. And you just tolerate. Sabun pani bina nirmal kare subhaya. Without soap and water, your mind will be cleansed. Why? You will grow in tolerance. If you want to purify your mind, you have to grow in tolerance. Spiritual growth doesn't mean that nobody is opposing you and your mind is normal. Spiritual growth means there's a reason for agitation, but you are not agitated. There is a reason for pride, but you are not proud. There's a reason for dvesh, for animosity, but you have got no dvesh. There's a reason for attachment and you are not getting attached. That is the spiritual ascendance. So we should not be disturbed when things are not going the way that we want. In fact, you see in those adversities the opportunity for inner growth. That is what the saints do. Now the story of Sant Tukaram is so popular, right? His wife had a very cantankerous nature. And while he was absorbed in his bhajan, she would keep on complaining. One day he was sitting and doing his bhajan, and his wife created hell. What is this Rukmini Vitthal you are doing? There's nothing to eat at home. No rations. Go and sit at the shop. So he was a grihastha sant. He went and sat at his shop, and whatever little earnings he got some rations and started off back home. But there were little beggars out there, he started giving. And little children, they knew that, if they say Rukmini Vitthal, he'll give them. So he kept on distributing. And finally, when he reached home, he had one sugar cane. So he told the home minister, I've got one sugar cane, this is all, please take. His wife became so annoyed. She took the sugar cane and smashed it on his head. And it broke into two. So sugar cane is not that weak. If it broke into two, she must have really hit him hard with it. But he was unperturbed as per this verse. That's sthita pragya sthiti. He said, oh, it is split. We had to split it in any case. You eat half and I will eat half. And then he went into his puja room and he said, Hey Vitthal Bhagavan, Pandurang, you are so merciful. You have given me a wife who is such that I can never be attached to this world. See, that is the way of looking at things. So when you learn Bhagavad Gita philosophy, the world doesn't change. The way you look at the world changes. This is Darshan Shastra. Our philosophical texts are called Darshan Shastra. They are helping you see things as they are. And that is what we need to develop. So we are always fighting with our circumstances. I have to fix this, then I have to fix this, then I'll be peaceful, then I fix that. And we are neglecting our inner growth. Tell me, in 365 days, how much time do you spend to improve the state of your mind? You look at your schedule and you will see how much time do you allot to it. And this mind is the most important. Now we are not catering to it. So the benefit of COVID was that people had been running on the outside. And when that running stopped, there was a little pause button for a little time. A lot of people turned inwards. They started focusing on their inner growth. And then they said, that time, of course, it was a terrible time. But we made so much of progress because we attended to things that we had neglected all our life. That is the importance of mind management. So the next two verses also Sri Krishna will talk about the yoga ruled state. And then He will tell Arjun that, look, Arjun, if you wish to achieve success, you will have to meditate. Let me just introduce you to that. Okay, we will do it in the next lecture, which will be tomorrow.